tried to do my own thing for a while. I went to culinary arts school and worked in a bakery for a while. Then, I will thank you. And then I then I joined the business in 2001. And we do focus only on historic buildings. And we have a video to the military called us, on a Monday last summer and said, would you be willing to let us come and film a documentary of you? So we'll do that. We'll show that. And they actually have a film school in Fort Meade in Maryland. So they came up to do that. And since we're kind of a small group, feel free if you have questions in between, and we'll also have a time for questions at the end. But if you want to know anything while we're discussing it, feel free to ask.
Really, it's a democratic society. The other thing is that we do not have an absolute position on building. Actually, we're sensitive about preserving old buildings, and we're very careful in the way that we approach them. But there's not a 100% solution in every case, and oftentimes it becomes a struggle with trial and error. So there's always the other side of an issue, but for today, why don't we consider the minority opinion, which would be to repair rather than replace. And so
that's substitute wood.
Is, right?
Yeah, it's a substitute wood. It planes. You can run it through your wood machines. So we started talking, and they were really out of their element because they were at the traditional building conference. So they had all these traditional builders sitting there, and they were trying to sell them on this. And the sales lady had to stand there and admit that because of the building codes, because of when it catches on fire, when a house catches on fire, the building code has determined that is so toxic that you can't have it in more than 25% of your house and not above the first floor because it's too dangerous for the firefighters to go in with the plastic burning. And why would you want to put that in your house? But they don't tell you that. So I had found this video a couple of years ago, and I just love to share it with people. So this is.
This obviously isn't happening every day.
But it happens enough that when you Google it, multiple places come up.
Latex paint on your house is that even if the wood wanted to breathe, it can't, because you basically created a seal that allows no air to penetrate it. So if there's any moisture inside the wood that you're painting, it rots from the inside
and you get
out.
the bubbling.
You can also get that from too much sun.
But that's what they call it.
The other thing is, if you're reacting in the wood, the paint's not going to bond to the wood, and it begins to chip off. And we see that sometimes. And there's other situations too, like there could be an alkali working on the surface. There could be some residue of paint that had been put on previously. But the Park Service, and we've seen it out at the effort of Cloister, has begun using all-batt paints. And if you have not done any research on them at all, I would suggest that you check them out on the computer. It's a linseed oil-based paint, which are all of our paints back from the 18th century to now have some linseed oil in them. It was primarily linseed oil in the beginning. And they would use like a miter and pestle, and they would take the pigments and they would grind them out, and then they would emulsify them in the linseed oil, which comes from flaxseed.
Yeah.
And they're creating these paints again, and they're coming from Sweden. Allback is from Sweden, but they're actually distributed out of New York. The only difference, you might have to work a little harder to get the color that you want, and the composition of it is a little bit softer than the latex. But I mean, even oil-based is much softer than latex. So you kind of know what I'm talking about.
Hi, I'm from Pocahontas National Historic Site, and we started using some of the linseed paint on our cast house, and unfortunately,
like a yellowing or?
Well, it's not so bad on cast Chusk.
Okay.
But it just turned gray. So having the cast Chusk gray is not a big deal.
Right.
But we decided not to do that when we went to exercise.
And then these are just fun pictures. I drive around and look to see where people have used their phone, their spray foam. And we actually, the spray foam is really bad for next to wood. It will cause wood to rot. You can use it in other places.
It's really great if you drill a hole through a stone or a concrete foundation and you need to close it up. It expands and it creates a tight seal. It's just like using the right thing in the right situation.
They actually were using this as insulation in the 70s, and they were telling people to fill cavities the same way that you use foam insulation now. Well, it was causing the framing to rot, so they just repackaged it for homeowners, and now everybody can use it. Oh, I see it now.
You know, there's a whole issue with insulation and spray foam. And,
You don't want to add features that serve no purpose. And then this is in Salem County in New Jersey. So it's a colonial house, or I guess it was a colonial storefront right on the main street, and then they built brand new buildings all around it. And then these others are just crazy. But you see this a lot though in new homes where they'll just throw different windows and different styles of everything on just because it's fancy.
well, I think that's just an observed way of saying that people mix and match a lot of stuff together without any knowledge of what the architecture needs to be. And one thing that we haven't talked about is kind of like the concept of knowing the difference.